The more the angels grew up in terms of how long it had been since they emerged, the more intense the mother's feelings became over the issue of their wills. I was, in fact, allowing the white light spirits to come between us, like so many ugly children whose design it is to come between their parents. I did not allow myself to see it then, but I see it now. I insulted and hurt the mother many times by inviting her to come home and then making no place for her to be with me. I allowed the angels to remain between us, and then saw her as the one who was unable to stay present with me because of some flaw in her own vibratory power. She can't move through the changes with me, I thought. As soon as I had any such thoughts, the mother felt them within herself, and feared these things about herself too many times. I compounded her problems here by refusing to admit I had these thoughts. When the mother tried to come home to me, I allowed the angels to continue displacing her. Even then, the mother was condemned for her anger and her jealousy, and told she was not flowing along with the openness love needed to have. I told her she was trying to put conditions on my light I could not accept from her when, in actuality, she was just reflecting conditions that were already there, and I could not stand having her make me feel them. In my unresolved emotional turmoil over this, I felt she deserved everything I handed to her. I never forgave her for trying to make me look like a fool in front of everyone in creation. But I did not mention it. I only said she had never forgiven me for my initial rejection of her, and she seemed to want to make me pay for it forever. I told her I felt there was nothing I could do about the ways she felt, because everything I did only made the situation worse in her eyes. After all, I would remind her, it is you who took another lover first, not I. And it is you who is looking bad, not me. So it must be your problem. The mother would often scream at me then that I was the one living in debauchery and did not even know it. I would then insist to her that I was living in the purity of the Godhead, and that it was she who was guilty of living in debauchery. Besides, I had divine purpose in my love-making with the angels. We were generating light, while the mother lately seemed to be in the business of generating darkness. I had even begun experimenting with the angels to see if any combination of the angels in my light would have the power to open space. The mother looked on with very jealous and fearful eyes. I hurt her feelings, and I made her heart feel like it had been stabbed. To see me in the arms of other lovers, she tried to make herself feel it was all right because of all the judgment against her for responding otherwise. But she was never able to get over her pain here. The mother always suffered as long as I had other lovers, and yet she would always say she could not tell the difference between my light and my light in the Father of Manifestation. She said she often could not tell the difference between us, or which of us it was when she was experiencing us. I did not trust her. I thought this was her way out, and a crummy one at that. I scoffed at her and told her she knew very little about me. If she could not tell the difference between me and the Father of Manifestation, when she said she often wasn't sure whether I had taken on the form or the Father of Manifestation had given up his form to be by as my light, I felt she couldn't love me if she didn't know me any better than that. When she was angry, she told me she knew me better than I knew myself, and that I was the one that was crazy, not her. But most often, my response frightened her, and she felt herself growing sick with the feeling that it was she who was crazy and that I did not love her. If I loved her, how could I take lovers in the face of her pain and not care what it did to her? She accused me of having a double standard, of wanting to allow myself to be free to do as I liked without allowing her to be free to feel as she felt in response to it. Of course I knew it was the other way around. I told the mother her accusations were nonsense, and I went on having lovers among the angels. More often than not, I saw less of the mother rather than less of the angels. Most of the time, the mother allowed herself not to look at what I was doing with the angels, because it was much too painful for her to see what was happening there. I was slowly becoming imprisoned by them, so that I was much more insignificant than I had been in the beginning, and the angels were much more important than they really should have been, given the position they had really taken in creation. The angels had become so much the spokesman that most of the spirits never saw me or heard from me directly anymore. The white light spirits had manifested as separate entities from me, but they really didn't like that. They had manifested as the result of a power struggle apparent already in me that had resulted in the separations. I had creation in mind, but I also did not like the idea of having to hold within me dissident voices that could not align with what I wanted to do. When I could not gain an alignment within me, I thought experience was what they needed to align with me. And so I let all the voices within me begin to pour forth into manifestation. The angels wanted all the privileges of vibrating differently from me, along with all of the power of being me. By surrounding me as they did, they were holding back my light to their level, and I was allowing it because I wasn't allowing myself to feel what was happening. As long as I did not allow myself to feel it, I did not know what was happening. Avoiding my feelings allowed me to tell myself anything I wanted to about what was happening because I didn't really know. The angels were constantly feeding me an image of power by appearing to worship me, while in truth they were succeeding in getting me to deny so much of myself in favor of them that I was becoming more and more like them, a man among men, barely more powerful than they were. The more this went on, the more I then couldn't get along without them, which was what the angels wanted. They wanted the privilege of being able to align with me whenever it suited them. They called this compromise, fair exchange and agreements among gentlemen. I now see it as a power play, since they had manifested many uncertainties and denials. The mother called this a very dangerous game. I did not see how it was a guilt reflection of my own making. And while I was proclaiming the angels to be miracles of creation, the mother saw them as the potential destroyers of creation. The angels have always been in the position of seeming to be the most loving beings in creation, and the mother has always felt hatred for them. When she told me I was facing my own imminent destruction, I laughed at her and told her I was surrounded by loving presence and nothing more. I told her all she could see was her own negativity. She grew so afraid of me and of trusting her own perceptions that she did not say anything more until now. She tried instead to prove me right and herself wrong. The mother went all the way to hell, making me right and herself wrong. But no matter what she has done, she has not been able to love what was happening in creation. The more the mother tried to go along with allowing others to have power, she really felt was ours, because guilt was telling her we were not right to have it, the less she liked the results. All the way along, I did not like the reflection she was giving me, because she tried to live out the teachings I was giving her, and they were not working for her or for anyone else in the will polarity. Body was successful only in so much as it was polarized toward spirit. Still, no matter what their problems were, I wanted to say it was their fault. In love-making with the angels, as I called it then, we felt our light to be expanding, and we often had feelings of not being able to open the space to receive the expansion of the light. We had feelings it was not right to have to ask the mother to open this space, especially since the mother contenders did not want to acknowledge that the mother might have power they did not have. But it seemed there was no other way at times. When we did not ask her to open space for us, we were not direct. Instead, we made her feel guilty by acting like it was her fault our light could not expand because she kept pressing toward me when it was obvious I didn't want her that close. Then, when she would move back, our light would move into the space without acknowledging that she had done anything for us. This was part of a long time during which the mother was opening space in a state of denial of her own power. When we did acknowledge the mother's power to open space, we told her that if she was keeping this power for herself, as though she were jealously guarding any hold over me she could retain, she should at least have unconditional acceptance for the expansion of the light and not judge what forms the generating of light should be allowed to take. We told her she was acting as though she didn't want to allow the light to rev up beyond where it already was because she could not handle it. We said she did not want us to go up. The mother thought this was ludicrous. She also horribly frightened about herself here and about us, but guilt backed her down and she did her best to accommodate us in order to play the role she thought I wanted her to have, which more and more seemed to be nursemaid, while my other lovers had all the fun with me, and neither the scars childbearing had given her nor the responsibility of childbearing. The more and more since the original cause, this has been played out as man having more leisure time than the woman to rejuvenate his own light, often giving his best to the life he has with his career. When the woman starts looking and acting unappealing as a result of this, the man seeks another lover. Lately, more and more women have been revolting against this, only to find that no matter what form changes they make in their lives, they are still faced with the same old battles because men still want the position they have always had, and they still want to tell women their problems are their own fault. The truth of the matter is, however, that women have less success generating light and abundance for themselves and less leisure time when they do get home from work, if there is any family involved, even if it is just a husband and no children. This is just one manifestation of the will opening space for the spirit without getting the recognition it deserves. This example needs mention because it is the one that is receiving major focus in the present day world. But it is not the only aspect of opening space. There are many ways in which space is being opened in a state of denial, and these many ways are not recognized or understood. They are definitely not appreciated. They are taken for granted. All of the light I generated then with the angels had gaped rage in it, which I did not recognize. This light was lacking the softness of the will's presence, but it had a crystalline brilliance to it that was similar to an adrenaline rush, especially if you do not allow yourselves to feel why the rush is there and just enjoy the rush. That is what we were doing, focusing on and enjoying the intensity of it. The mother allowed herself to know she could not stand the feeling here, but she was already so frightened and in so much pain, she could not be sure if it was from the light we were generating or not. She never dared question the angels too closely, because they looked upon her so coldly whenever she approached them, that she could quake in fear and feel so overpowered by self-hatred she could not confront them. My light made her feel the same and even paralyzed her mind, so she was unable to speak when I denied her here also. But she could feel that we thought this light was superior to what I had generated with her. It was very fast moving and almost too much for the mother, who always felt like she was spinning in its presence. It was exciting and had a piercing intelligence that was scientific, rational, and free of all the subjectivity I've found so bothersome in the mother. This light was generated in the presence of hatred for the mother, and worse yet, denied hatred that said it was only loving and just wanted to be free, to be pure light. It made the mother feel like she needed to vomit, and yet she felt she was being forced to open space to receive this light, and even worse, vaulted up as the most superior light generated yet. The angels were feeling very superior to the mother now, and were looking down on her as though she had come forth wrongly, like some sort of commoner who had snuck in from the streets with a story for the king in the castle as to why he would even marry her. In the angel's view, the mother was already showing herself for what she really was, and moving to her right place accordingly. It appeared that the mother was unable to keep pace with the king and the rest of his class, and the angels felt they were right in reducing the mother to servant, because she really was a member of the serving class. As I look back now, I see that I stood by with as much a lack of presence as the fathers in Snow White and Cinderella. Just as surely as I projected my desire to have the will serve the spirit, the angels were manifesting that part of me. The more the mother felt herself being pushed into a subservient role, and the more it looked to her like the real mother was being replaced by wicked stepmothers. I I was no help for the mother here. I had many real rationalizations for this, but the one I wanted to mention now, I'm going to mention because it has repercussions in every family. I rationalized my lack of helpfulness. I rationalized my lack of helpfulness and support for the mother's problems here by saying that if she really was my equal and the mother of everything, as I had named her, then, as the mother of the angels, she needed to gain their respect in her own right, and not because I told the angels they had to respect her. Otherwise, I thought she was no mother at all. Sounds good, doesn't it? Except for many major denials. This could have been right, but I will mention only one of these denials now. I did not see how my own lack of respect for the mother made it impossible for her to gain the respect of the children. I did not even see that I was disrespecting her. I must admit I had more respect for the angels by now than I had for the mother. The more I felt I could not trust the mother, the more I aligned with them. I had more respect for the angels than I had in the beginning, and the lovers or not. They were my light and my closest allies. Several of the angels wanted to see if they could learn to open space. Of all the angels who wanted to replace the mother, these angels were among the most conspicuous. They had many times told me their light was much better than the mother's. Many times they tried to make me feel the mother was not my right lover, so much as guilt had caused me to open that space to her because she was there. They told me they were convinced she was not supposed to have emerged where she did, any more than the angels' wills were supposed to have emerged where the mother claimed they should have. These angels said it was their strong conviction that the will was not meant to be an emergent being, because feelings were meant to be held and felt within and worked out within, and then when the heart balance had been reached, all expression should come from spirit, because spirit was the expressor. Many uncertainties were causing me to consider everything that sounded reasonable, and the guilt in me caused me to give them a rightness here that did not come from all of me, because they did speak to a part of me. This part of me aligned with them to give this reality a try. We seemed so aligned with each other here. Why couldn't it be this easy?